Right, welcome back. Last time, we just finished reunifying, well, super unifying Siberia. So, the next step, and the final step, is national reunification, in which we deal with everything to the west of us. Or at least everything that's independent of Germany. So, yeah, there's still Moscow to deal with, but yeah, I'll get to that later. So, among other things, rarity of all rarities, the French resistance has actually risen up. I was able to send volunteers, so 4 tank divisions. Yep. Liberia's in the middle of collapsing too. And instability in the Middle East. Who would have thunk? So, anyway. Yep, here's the super event. The Iberian Wars. In a war, there are no winners and losers, only victims. Mica del Castillo. Iberia's Dusk. Oh, the volunteers are back. Yep, 4 tank divisions. And Italy swooped in and took the Balearic Islands. Some peacekeeping. Yeah, it's definitely in the best interest of the Spanish. Definitely. We have seen failure and persevered. Bridging the gap. Keep your head down. They don't know. Keep your head high, though. They're not heading you down. They have no way of knowing. Why were they looking at him weird? If they didn't know why, did they pull their children tighter to them as they walked by? Oh, he was scratching again. That armband was always itchy, force of habit. Quickly, he stuffed his hands in his pockets, fiddling with the paper in one and the knife in the other. Took a deep breath. It's fine. It's going to be fine. Sacha began to hyperventilate. It was not fine. He saw how the Black Army swept through the east with brutality of a people scorned. They wouldn't spare any sympathy for him. The people were looking at him again. Sacha stopped in his tracks. He nearly walked right past the office. Afternoon, companion. What brings you in? The general called from across the room. The man's back was to him. It was deep within a filing cabinet. Sacha pricked himself with the blade in his pocket. He had orders. He was always following orders. The man turned around. Can I help you? Sacha shook his head, pushed his weapon deeper into his thumb. God damn it. God damn it. Why would they choose him for this? He didn't know how to send a message. He didn't know what the message even was. You are Valentiv. The puzzled man raised an eyebrow and nodded. Sacha pulled the paper from his pocket. Kill him. Tell him the Vajt was eternal. Do it, Sacha. Do what you are told to do. The general grew agitated. Who are you? What are you doing here? Do it, Sacha. Do it, you goddamn failure. Nothing, Mr. Valentiv. Wandered in by mistake. Wow. New emphasis on ruralism. In my commune? Yevgenia smiled, placing a hand on Yuri's leg as the vehicle jerked up and down on the bumpy Siberian terrain. You have nothing to be worried about, Yuri, she said with a laugh. This should be right up your alley. Yuri produced a half-smile in response. He watched out the window, all of Siberia passing by him. It was so large, Siberia. Although one could find populated cities dotted around the land, there was so much empty, so much potential, was how he put it, years ago, standing in the Kansk assembly hall. Yevgenia nudged him, shaking him free of his thoughts. Yuri looked to her and gave a wider smile. You flatter me, Yevgenia. You could teach these people just as well as I could. Sure I could, she patted his leg. But they don't want me, Yuri. They want you. Yuri's stomach churned at the statement. Stepping off the truck in the middle of the Ixtim commune, Yuri was not greeted by the usual suspects. People did not rush out to meet him, chant his name, and sing his praises. No, instead, the commune carried on as it always did, only few even recognizing companion Kazanskov. Yuri could feel a smile forming. It was so rare just to see anarchy in action, to see people going about their days as they wanted to. No restrictions or commands from the central authority. Yevgenia had to ruin it. She'd call out the people around them, asking for their attention. The small crowd, mostly just people curious of the commotion, began to grow around him. Yuri bit his lip to keep his smile in place. Duty calls, he supposed. This was only the first commune of many he'd visit. He had a long month ahead of him, undoubtedly. But if he got to see anarchy in action at every stop as he did here, it might just be worth it. Companions, what do you know of anarchism? The shadow of the valley. It seemed to Yuri as if the spats inside the economic ministry were the most petty and stupid things he had witnessed in his admittedly limited experience in administration. Sorting through the letters, he chuckled at the worst ones. I must say, Vadik, your doubt in Kuzina's potential for economic prosperity is simply disgusting. Stanislav, I will be reporting you to the madhouse if you truly believe that incest hamlet has any potential beyond starving during a good harvest season. The economic ministry seemed laser-focused on feuding over exactly which Russian town or city got funding. The answer seemed so clear to Yuri. Why not fund evenly, even in smaller towns? Focusing the limited funds they had on larger cities would only widen a diminished rural-urban gap. When distributing it, smaller towns could give them a much-needed boost. Less densely populated communes... Is this showing up on the... No? Okay. Sorry. Little oddity happening. Less densely populated communes could grow rapidly with just a little boost. Big cities didn't need even more money to flow into the bureaucratic money pools. I'm so tired of this. Huh? Angolan Civil War. Well, that's to be expected. The Aryan government is gone. I'm not supposed to get this event. This is a West Russian Revolutionary Front under Zhukov event. I'm not supposed to get that. I didn't even start in Western Russia. Both sides of the story. The rules were simple. No attacking on personal matters, respect each other's opinions, and be civil. Of course, the simplicity of these rules left a lot to be desired, as anarchists and men of many different political orientations flooded the Novosibirsk Commune Opera Hall for a night of good-natured debate. Kalenskov sat in the back of the hall, watching the debate unfold and duly noting the good points made by both sides. I understand the Nazi mindset, sir, I really do, but I do not understand how you can support the actions of these men after they have murdered so many and left so many innocent dead in their wake. The fascist gave a smug smile and replied, Would you kill for freedom? For anarchy, as you call it? Yes. As would I for my freedom, national liberation. Some will die, but if it means a racially pure utopia, then it is ultimately worth it. Every death, every child, every child. And sir, have you considered that perhaps a race is but a construction? That nationalism is but a lie cooked up by your ancestors? Ah, I see the mindset of a Jew. Only a fool would deny that certain nations are more superior to others. After all, do Africans yet have a Volkshalle? The anarchist scoffed. The debate continued. The Jews, I tell you. I think you'll find, Mr. Glanskov, that couldn't be further from the truth. A suited man bent over to the table adjacent to him, stacks of paper precariously balanced on it. He retrieved one of the many charts and propped it up on the podium before him. He traced a downward slope with his finger. Look here, the general trend of our military industrial capacity has been steadily sliding since we cast away capitalism. It's foolish to disregard the system that brought America from humble colony to preeminent superpower on the basis of ideology. The packed assembly hall began to throw insults at the speaker, men rising from their seats to heckle their perceived opponent. Yuri Glanskov quickly scribbled something into his notebook, underlining it thrice. With a slam of his palm against the podium, he called to the room to order. Yuri leaned. Now, companions, you will convince no one by demeaning them. Yuri leaned against the podium and turned to the man to his right. Now, companion, you make valid criticism of my argument. I acknowledge that. However, I have traveled far and wide around this territory and have seen the impacts of capitalism. Let me tell you something. Capitalism works for those who made it, not for those who live under it. Yuri's contemporary had his retort, and the revolutionary had his own. The two could have carried on for time eternal, and Yuri would have savored every moment of it. Curtains on capitalism. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood is joining in. Objection. Yuri slammed his hands onto the table before him, sweat dripping from his forehead. General Stepanov was a tyrant in disguise, hiding his true intentions deep inside our most treasured institution. Yuri retracted his hands and put them against his chest for emphasis. I was fooled. We were fooled. I figured him as a friend. Yuri paused, watching the reactions of the masses gathered in the General Assembly. Despite what we may have thought about General Stepanov, the fact is that he had too much power in his position, something we failed to recognize until it was far too late. Yuri made eye contact with all his companions. His next words would shape the future of the territory. We cannot risk this ever happening again. Yuri straightened out the papers on his desk, all evidence used against Stepanov. I recommend the total obliteration of the Black Army in its current form. Yuri looked out into the silent jury. The people exchanged glances. What was he saying? The people said through their eyes. I don't know, others responded with a shake of their head, but it doesn't sound good. Companion Glanskov tapped on the table as he waited. He scoffed to himself. Usually, he can never quiet them down. Now, when he needs them to speak, they won't. Finally, a young man rose from his seat, adjusted his hat, and spoke in a shaky voice. You're not calling for the death of the men and women who volunteered to protect us, are you, Companion Glanskov? Yuri stared deep into the eyes of the boy and answered without blinking. I have always called for the death of the state, companion. The quiet General Assembly erupted into chaos, as it always did. Yuri beat his hand on the table, calling the hall to order. What should we do then? Let them build power? Wait for them to take control of this territory? The room, though divided into many camps, seemed to agree on one proposal, allowing the Black Army to redeem itself through labor. Yuri considered the people's position, but also thought of his own concern. How many more Stepanovs hid in the Black Army? He took a deep breath and responded, giving his verdict. As the people command, Yuri acts. As you command. Irenushka wringed her hands, her head resting against the frozen steel frame of the vehicle. She didn't know much about Magadan. She had never been, in truth, she had only heard of it in passing. She knew it was a port city, former home of some of Russia's worst. She would have loved to go, had it been on her accord. She wanted to see the ocean so terribly bad. It was something Pyotr mentioned time and time again, the way the waves struggled against the frozen layer above it. Pyotr, the foolish boy, his great stretching community year, was so proud to proclaim that it was a perfect analogy for the anarchist struggle. Stepanov never visited the Far East. As a matter of fact, he dreaded it. He mentioned it to Irenushka many times while she exhorted him from commune to commune. He didn't come to Siberia on his own will, but found Tomsk to be quite enjoyable, and often made offhanded comments about the thought of having to invade the Far East made him nauseous. What he never mentioned was a coup, something Irinushka reiterated to the General Assembly more times than she could count. They didn't care. They had the nerve to look her in the face and told her it was for her own good. The vehicle stopped abruptly, smacking Irunska's head against the steel. She winced in pain, but did not yelp. She had not said a word since they took Pyotr. If this was the people's will, so be it. She wasn't a people then, she supposed. The door before her slid open. 2 men stood there, many more behind them with guns. They said something about Magadim, about liberation, about work. Irinushka simply smiled. Just behind one of the men she could see the ocean. What's more freeing than the wild water? Let's go back towards a professional army. Taking pause. I'm not done, Yevgenia. Yuri cut deep into his venison. He sawed off a piece of the steak and plopped it in his mouth. He let his elbows rest on the table, arms erect, fork in one hand and knife in the other. I know, Yuri, Yevgenia Taratuda somberly said, toying with her side dish. He spun his utensils in the air as he chewed. With a gulp, Yuri spoke once more. You know, Yevgenia, I prefer to eat with guests. She nodded. I invited Stepanov into my own home so many times. He sat right where you did. He ate my food and looked into my eyes. He called himself my friend. Yevgenia sat down and looked at her friend with pleading eyes. Yuri, no, Yevgenia, let me finish. He told me you knew how to eliminate our enemies, and we sat here and drafted our plans. Yuri thrusted his fork into the table. He looked at me and told me what to do. I did it. Yuri grabbed Yevgenia's trembling hand. Tell me what I need to do. I feel as if the Security Council will be the thing to haunt me for years to come. Should I rid myself of the guilt and dissolve it, or should I work within it? Tell me, Yevgenia, I can't do this alone. Do what your heart tells you to do. I don't like this worsening army professionalism, so I'm gonna deal with that. The deliberations of a man with everything. Dr. Drugov carelessly dropped his bags next to him. There it was, the beautiful, shimmering sea. Somewhere far beyond it sat a city on a hill, a place where men could be free and civil, not just one or the other. It didn't matter now, whatever led to the fragmentation of Russia and the rise of anarchy. The question was easier asked than answered, so Dr. Drugov simply didn't. He would be more than content to board a boat and leave this madness behind him, but I'd figured I found you here, came Miss Drugova from behind. She was not Dr. Drugova or Mrs. Drugova, no. She fancied herself Drugova the Free, the anarchist. Dr. Drugov nodded, still facing out to the sea. You've come to join me, Natalia? Like hell. Dr. Drugov chuckled. I figured as such. The pair stood in silence for some time, my daughter watching her father's back. A whistle blew in the distance, breaking the silence. I should be going. You should. Why did you come, Natalia? To mock me? To see me off? Dr. Drugov whipped around in rage, facing his daughter. She was not smirking or attempting to hide a laugh. Instead, tears ran down the young woman's face. Dr. Drugov stepped to console his daughter, but she recoiled back, stepping away from him. Her father opened his mouth to say something, anything he could, but was cut off by yet another blast of the whistle. He looked at his daughter and back to the sea. Dr. Drugov collected his bags and made for the dock. Room for improvement. Adrian hugged his books close to his chest as he wandered aimlessly around the campus. Alone. Okay, he wasn't alone. How could one not succeed at walking at a straight line? He was in a group, yes. How stupid of him to get lost. How could one not succeed at walking in a straight line? Stupid. Adrian slapped his palm against his forehead. Now they were already deep in the college, and he was lost in the courtyard. God help him. He had only been here for 20 minutes and already effed everything up, as usual. Adrian quickened his pace. First man in his family to go to college, and he was already making a mockery of his family. What was he going to tell his mother? That he got lost and they sent him home? He'd never read. While rounding a corner, he collided with something, sending Adrian's books hurtling to the ground with a thud. "I'm so sorry," he said, scrambling to gather his things. The woman he ran into only laughed, massaging her arm. "You're in a hurry by the looks of it. Here, let me help you." She bent down to the ground, collecting the scattered books. "I am sorry. I should have been looking where I was going. I just got something from the group," she interjected. To flush, Adrian nodded. "I figured. Don't worry, you're not the first. This place is huge. I'm Anastasia, but my friends call me Anna. Nice to meet you." She extended a hand to the young man before him. Adrian wiped his sweaty palm on his pants. "Hi, Anastasia. I'm Adrian." She found the scene funny. "Well, Adrian, why don't I show you around?" Young friendship between young minds. Right, let's start working on more drastic measures. One thing special about the SBA. Alright, so something special about the SBA is that you can either choose to do the usual mechanic of unlocking nuclear weapons for the Russians, or, we'll see, an unfortunate reality. You psychopath, you moron. You absolute idiot. Valentiv struggles to find the words to describe Andronai Misharenko, slamming a fist on the desk of companion Kalanskov in frustration. "Yuri, you've got to recognize this for what it is. Suicide." Yuri Kalanskov felt he could trust companion Valentiv. He had always done in the best interests of the people. Of course, he thought the same of Ivan Stepanov. "Companion, you and I have both fought for companion Misharenko's right to speak, and I propose his plans to the Assembly." Valentiv brushed back his hair and leaned back in his chair in disbelief. Misharenko sat erect, his lips curled in a smile. "Thank you, companion Kalanskov. I appreciate that you can recognize true talent when you see it." Misharenko shifted in his seat, leaning in towards Yuri. "From my service, I've learned the intellectuals. They are excellent at sitting in ivory towers, shouting commands down to us. They know nothing of practical warfare. A nuclear weapon is a weapon just like a rifle or a pistol. We don't ask the scientists to assemble artillery. We ask the people." "Yuri, not everything is a people's struggle," Valentiv pleaded. "I implore you to leave this to the experts, for the sake of the people." "Not everything may be a people's struggle, but this is." All hands on deck. We are crowdsourcing a nuke. Yep, crowdsourcing nuclear weapons. What could possibly go wrong? Tokyo Standoff, the Great Conspiracy, as it is known in Japan, has escalated to even more bloodshed violence as the rogue Imperial Japanese Army units have seized positions in the outskirts of Tokyo. Claiming to be guardians of Kokatai and protectors of the TNO, they have virtually laid siege to Tokyo. Of note, the Imperial family has temporarily been evacuated to Kyoto for fears of their safety. It has been said that the Tokyo Standoff has been induced by the paranoia gripping Japanese society as a result of the Great Conspiracy. Brother would suspect brother. Subordinate would accuse superior. The Imperial Japanese military hierarchy has exploded into anarchy. Only time can tell if Tokyo is capable of handling the situation. Has the Empire of Japan gone mad? Well, we'll see. What say you, common man? The General Assembly, as always, was rowdy. When Kalanskov had called the assembly, every member of the Congress eagerly set off to Novosibirsk. If they were busy, though few were busy enough to miss an assembly, they brought their deputies in their place. There was electricity in the Congress Hall that seemed to seize every man and woman. They were a part of something real. Even if it was just some assembly in Siberia, their job, their life, was for the betterment of all men. The excited murmur in the hall dimmed to a whisper as Yuri took the stage. Pulling the old microphone closer to his lips and straightening his posture, he began to speak to the hundreds gathered. Yuri was never an orator. His voice was uncertain, his cadence stilted, but all of them huddled in the hall understood it. And that was what mattered. "I was in my bedroom last night, lying awake and wondering to myself, how does anarchy survive, truly survive? It is not merely by spirit alone. If that was true, then what of the countless oppressed who yearn for the spirit of anarchy? What of the theoreticians and philosophers who wrote book upon book on the ideal? It seems to be clear that men must die for anarchy, for freedom. Whether it is statists and fascists, or anarchists themselves, it seems that we must kill the vanguards of the state to achieve lasting anarchy. And I was considering this unfortunate conclusion when I realized that it was not from the loins of death that anarchy emerges, but from the fear of death. When the statists fear catastrophe, they will leave us to our own devices. When the sadists fear the ultimate destruction, nuclear hellfire, they will leave us to our freedom. And so, it is the ultimate weapon that will lead us to the ultimate ideal, men. We must build a nuclear bomb. New decisions are available. Project Emancipatia. The quest for nuclear weaponry is one that every aspiring power must undertake before cementing themselves as a lead role on the world stage. While many nations undertake this quest from inside their laboratories, testing weapons on islands, and threatening the nations of the world with nuclear Armageddon, the Free Territory has chosen a different route. Under the guidance of Yuri Galanskov, the people of Russia will assert themselves as a force to be reckoned with. To maintain Project Emancipatia's goal of building an atom bomb with the people's help, Yuri Galanskov will travel from commune to commune, asking for the people's input. For the millions of people in Siberia comes millions of differing opinions. Choosing between which advice to take and which to disregard will decide the fate of Project Emancipatia. Right, let's go there first. Takes 25 political power each time. And each commune will be visited once. Additionally, there are 9 total communes to visit. Seek not your fortune in a dark, dreary mine. Watch your head. The guide took Yuri Galanskov deeper into the mine shaft of Verknoydinsk. I think we have the morning shift on duty still, though they are gonna be heading to lunch soon. Well, if we can, I'd like to get the chance to see them as they work. For this project to be a success, I am going to need to know the ins and outs of the miners, the thought process, and how they go about their daily lives. The foreman shook his head from side to side in contemplation. I think we can arrange that. They probably won't even notice you coming in. The work we do here is some of the hardest you'll see across the entirety of Russia. He chuckled. Let me see here. Ah, there's Dmitri. I think he'd be the best one to ask. He's one of the most educated of the bunch here. Dmitri, get your ass over here. The man set down his pickaxe and took off his hard hat, using it to fan himself. Something I can do for you? Dmitri, this is his companion Galanskov. You know him. He is looking for some information on a certain project. Yuri? Nice to meet you, companion Mikhail. The pair shook hands. I need your help. This free territory needs your help. During the mining process, what do you consider the most important part of gathering uranium? Make sure you always wear let-lace clothing. Right, off to the next one. Norilsk. Science on the top of the world. Yuri stomped on the floor mat as he entered the house, kicking the snow off his boots. Not that it did very much, the snow of Norilsk came close to completely enveloping him entirely. His pant legs were frozen stiff, making walking quite awkward. He huddled over to the large reclining chair next to the fireplace and sat. You had the fire going already, Yuri called out as the older man who invited him out went for the kettle. I figured you'd want to warm up. Most people aren't prepared for the cold, he said, pouring water into the kettle. Plus, for the topic I wish to discuss, I want to make sure you're firing on all cylinders. I don't know if you know, but your ability to make rational decisions is hampered by the cold. Really? Yuri said, removing his gloves. No, I didn't know that. Where did you learn that? I studied at the Academy of Sciences before I went to hell in a handbasket. He laughed, scratching at his whiskers. A college friend of mine. What was his name? I couldn't remember for the life of me. He studied agriculture. It was this big thing and mentioned it to me one time. Regardless, that's not what I wanted to tell you. What I need to tell you is that this nuclear weapon must be kept total secret during its construction. Getting any information slip could have dire consequences. It is a people's project. I cannot hide it from them. That should help. The Dofar Rebellion won. Now, what comes next? Scout helis, apparently. Let's improve them. And take the time to unlock the Scout heli company. Right, off to Krasnoyarsk. Stockholm Conference failed. No surprise there. All aboard. Yuri rested his briefcase on his lap as he looked out of the train's window. Novosibirsk to Krasnoyarsk was one of the most popular journeys of the Trans-Siberian Railroad. Occasionally, some families would board just for the enjoyment, to celebrate a wedding or birthday. He couldn't blame them. People gave Siberia a bad reputation as a barren wasteland, but there were so many hidden treasures to be found. Yuri retrieved a pad and paper from the briefcase and began sketching a scene of the car he was in. He wasn't good at art, but was getting better. "Can I offer you some drinks, companion?" The stewardess cheerily asked from behind him. Yuri, startled, dropped his pen, narrowly caught his journal in between his legs. "I'm so sorry," the woman laughed. "I didn't mean to." Yuri found the humor as well. "No worries. Paper doesn't shatter like glass, thankfully." Yuri looked at the brown-haired woman, her eyes a similar brown. "Where are you from?" She tucked her hair behind her ear. "Krasnoyarsk. My father operates a shop in the marketplace. What can you tell me about transporting goods on these trains?" "Avoid the Kamarovo junction. It's beyond repair. Make 2 of them. Put them on 2 trains." Oh, the South Sudanese Civil War is over. I suppose the Sudanese. Good for them. Seems the Spanish Republic is actually starting to do well against belonging to Spain, thanks to the Workers' Battalion up here. Even me? There was humor in it, the sign. "Let your voice ring out through the atom." Yuri finally went off the deep end, and maybe he jumped in the water long ago, and finally pulled down the rest of us to his level. Yuri played fair, though. He couldn't rag on Yuri too hard when Yuri had dragged himself out of the house to attend the meeting, whether out of curiosity or for entertainment. Yuri took his seat near the back of the tightly packed room. Producing a decaying cigarette from his jacket pocket, Yuri let the paper hang carelessly from his mouth as he patted himself down in search of a lighter. An older woman climbed on the stage, assisted by some black army hotshot. She hobbled up to the microphone. "Test. Test. Are we good?" The people recoiled from the feedback. "Good," she said cheerily. "I want to extend my gratitude for those who came out tonight. This project is of the utmost importance. That being said, I won't take too much of your time. I know there's a storm coming in, so is there someone who'd like to stay?" "Yes, I've got something to say." Yuri grinned, looking up at the man who rose to speak. "This'll be good. Have we considered how entrenched privilege is in war? The construction of atomic weapons is the highest form of classism." Yuri couldn't restrain himself from laughing hysterically, drawing angry looks from the room. "Is there something funny you find funny about your companion's comment?" the elderly woman called from the stage. No, I just..." Yuri continued to laugh. "He said that nuclear war was classist. I'm as much of an anarchist as the next guy. But come on, this is just ridiculous. What's ridiculous is that you dragged yourself out of your house looking as you do and still have the gall to insult your fellow companions," the woman on the stage retorted. Yuri stopped laughing, slinking back into his chair. "What were you saying, companion?" "Right, even more. Let's go to Yakutsk." Poverty decrease another step. Nice. So we go to 10 to 15% poverty rate. Which if we actually go take a look over to here, it's better than the USA. Yeah. Safety first. Companions, young and old, stand up now to protect our hardest workers, a man shouted from a bullhorn outside the Yakutsk City Hall, standing atop a box of fish brought west from the god. Misharenko rolled his eyes as he walked past the protesters. Yuri Golonskov at his side. Whatever, he spat. Those on the project not only volunteer, but already enjoy some of the best amenities we can offer. They always push for more, these people. We free them from occupation, offer them liberty and their own autonomy. And what do? They complain. Misharenko shook his head. I am sorry you have to see this, companion Golonskov. There isn't... This isn't the reason we came today. Yuri watched the crowd as he walked past. He looked at his watch. He was supposed to be meeting with some holdouts from the previous regime who were willing to meet after an intense siege. Oh, come along now. They're simply exercising their right to protest. Yeah, well, I wish they exercised their right to be quiet as well, Mr. Renko said with a huff. Here's the vehicle, companion Golonskov. Go ahead. Yuri was still watching the protest. I found a point. Was there still more to do? No, surely not. However, even if there was the smallest chance there was, maybe it was worth it. I will catch up with you. I have to be here. I produce enough political power. Ooh, the first air assault's ready. Let's go. I'll attach them with the NBT army. Go to Gorno-Tisk. I'm gonna need to save the rest of the political power for... Oh wait, I'm probably gonna lose political power here, aren't I? Joy. The light of the Lord. What was more tranquil than strolling along the evening market? To Yuri Golonskov, there wasn't anything he'd rather do. He happened to be in Gorno-Tisk for a meeting with the commune regarding peaceful transitions from the previous administration. Yuri found the people quite agreeable, if a little conservative for his tastes. His tastes were occupied elsewhere, however, as he bit into the reindeer jerky. His mouth was overwhelmed with the flavor from the well-seasoned and perfectly cooked snack. He relaxed on one of the benches, closing his eyes and simply soaking in the environment. And then the screaming started. Do not test his might. He is watching. Do what is right. God is the only one who can pass judgment. Yuri opened his eyes to see men in robes holding signs depicting nuclear explosions inside of a large circle with a line through it. Yuri rubbed his eyes in exhaustion. God can stick it with the sun don't shine. Yeah, well, I'll get more political power from power units, so... Off to Bratsk. Union boys will win the battles. I have to say, companion, I'm quite impressed. What you have accomplished here outshines some of the most industrialized contemporaries, Yuri said as he toured the factory, overflowing with men slamming away hammers on sheets of metal. Oh, come on now, companion Konskov, said the leader of the commune's largest union. We are humble folk here. Really? No, Yuri stopped in his tracks, a realization coming to himself. This could further the nuclear effort by years beyond our initial estimates. You must devote your entire willpower to the furtherment of the project. The union boss tossed his head from side to side in contemplation. Well, I suppose I could try and convince them, but they aren't exactly eager to make weapons of war here. If I were to convince them, they'd have stipulations. They would want the magnitude of the weapon limited, and promise that it would never be used. It must only be for show. Now dies. We may have to use it for self-defense at some point. I'd rather be able to. You know what? Cancel the decision I'd like to first. In my opinion, it is of my most sincere belief that the struggle for freedom has at last reached its climax. Anarchism as an ideology is a fight. It is a never-ending battle against hierarchy. When the people feel secure is when they must be most vigilant. No, that wasn't right. You scribbled the words out. The anarchist struggle is one of unity. The people standing together will ultimately be victorious over the state when Yuri slapped the book shut. He hated not having the answers. Figure it out later. He just needed to. A knock at the door. Yuri? I was wondering if you had a few moments. Yuri let out a heavy sigh. Yes, please, come in. What can I do for you? I... Well, you know I wanted to speak my mind. I think you ought to seriously reconsider this. I'm scared, Yunya. Is that what you wanted to hear? I don't know what I'm supposed to do, so I let the people handle it. Nobody said anarchy was easy. Right. Together, nothing is impossible. Desperate times. People's Tribunal found them guilty on all counts. Exploitation, murder, theft, whole 9 yards. Didn't have them killed, though. I'm sure that's pretty par of the course for you, the man said with a laugh. You see worse guys than we do all the time. You know there were literal fascists out east? Gracie. The man unclipped the ring of the keys from his belt and searched for the right one. Anyway, these guys were basically chomping at the bit for the opportunity to redeem themselves in the people's eye, he said in air quotes. Sounds like a desperate BS to me, but what do I know? Yuri stepped into the prison cell. 2 men sat at a wooden table, playing chess. Ilk of the state, Yuri said coldly. Both men quickly shot up from their seats, bumping the table and ruining the perfectly good game of chess. Companion Gonskov, thank God you have come. We are so terribly sorry. My assistants and I have been journaling for years in the cell, rotting away. As you should, Yuri said, crossing his arms. I understood your convictions, and our time interned have shown us the way as well. As a gesture of goodwill, I will offer you all our notes from our previous position in the State University, along with our countless notes and theories since. The man thrusted a notebook in Yuri's hands. Please, take this and let's go. You can keep your book. This is a people's mission. Test your expertise has proved the maximum level. Innovative industry. Actually gives me buffs production efficiency wise. I've upgraded my artillery to the advanced variant. Although I haven't researched the minor upgrades yet. Probably should get to that at some point. I mean, I've never upgraded my planes either. That's something I should do eventually. Another day, older and deeper in debt. You see, the miner's words muffled by his mouth full of food. I know a guy who knew a guy who was there when they evaporated that American island. He took a gulp from a large cup of carbonated soft drink. Guy was a total nut. The workman belched. Anyway, this guy I know went back west. I haven't heard from him in a few years now, but he was super obsessed with nuclear weaponry and all that it entailed. He left me with this list of materials and even planned out a quarry. Yuri's face crinkled in disgust. If the project wasn't of the utmost importance, he most certainly wouldn't have been anywhere else in Russia. Would have been anywhere else in Russia other than this. I appreciate you stepping forward with this information, companion. You're furthering a very noble cause. The miner reclined in his seat. Whoa, I don't remember saying anything about just handing it over. There's got to be a little something in it for me, right? Yuri scowled. Greed does not look good on you, companion. I highly suggest you drop this little charade. Oh, come on, Yuri. Yuri's face remained a straight line. Fine, you can have it in one hand and put your ideology in the other, and see what fills up faster. The man interrupted from his seat. Wait, let's talk. I'll get political power from this. Not a matter of why, but why not? For all his time speaking to the people, ranting and raving about the movement he propelled from the past to the forefront of geopolitics, sometimes Yuri enjoyed just to listen. Listening was how he first learned of anarchy, after all. There would be plenty to learn from the bright minds of the newly minted Tomsk Enrichment Center. Greetings, scientists, war heroes, diplomats, and knights. I am C. Ivanov. No, the C doesn't stand for companion. It stands for the presentation companion Ivanov. Brown-haired woman to his left side. Apologies, companions. That's my leftly assistant, Carolina. She's the brains of this operation. Don't let her tell you otherwise. Ivanov placed a laughing hand on his assistant's shoulder. Now, growing up, I heard a lot of people tell me, you're wasting your time, and you will never succeed. Today, we will prove them wrong. Today, we will make them eat those words. We got inspired. I don't want these damn words. I want action. My action is blowing up your goddamn house. If I don't know, reward. Here you watch from the audience. Mutant shock. Mutant shock. Was this man out of his mind? His ego was certainly collecting rocks on the moon with how out of this world it was. On the other hand, maybe that's what the project needed. Real passing. Yuri opened his mouth to speak and said, Carolina, get your boss under control. Alright, let's test the weapon and see how I did. There are 3 possibilities. Failure, neutral, successful. None of them will actually give me a nuke, but, well, I can make a lot of progress in a very short while. Let's upgrade armor again. Make sure that I can punch through. I can break through anything. Any level of fire. Harnessing the ultimate deterrent. Let's see how it goes. Green across the board. Yuri sat far away from the site. The middle of the forest clearing was the culmination of months of hard work and the best talent Russia had to offer. Companion Golanskov held a pair of binoculars in a shaky hand. There were many big steps on the way from the Siberian Black Army's journey from a petty band of ruffians to a legitimate community and a powerful force in the region. The first deal between himself and Stepanov. The wars against the statelets of Central Siberia, taking on the status of the East. All of them could have been the moment the whole movement fell apart. This was another one of those pivotal moments, he supposed. Companion Golanskov, this is Misharenko. Yuri deciphered from the static of the walkie-talkie. The weapon is primed. I would hope you are a respectable distance, but also recommend you cover your eyes. Even at your distance, you will most certainly be blinded. Yuri trembled as he put the radio in his mouth. Understood, he said, not allowing his fear to show through his voice. Congratulations, boys and girls. Today the Russian people will have stood up. 3, Yuri ducked under the brick wall he was sitting on. 2, he braced for the sound of the atom splitting. 1, he clenched tight, praying that he would trust his companions to provide him with safe distance. Detonate. Yuri hugged up against the wall, ready to feel an extreme wave of heat rush over him. There was no bang, no boom. The sound of the atom conquered by man. There was silence. Cautiously, Yuri rose from his spot and peeked over the wall to find absolutely nothing. No cloud, no trees flying off in the distance. From the force of the blast, no nothing. Grabbed his radio. Companion, Misharenko, what the hell just happened? Well, nothing it seems. Back to the drawing board. Well, neutral. I guess it was to be expected. The oil crisis erupts. Jeez, 2 super events at the same time. Anyway, following the breakout of several conflicts in the Middle East and the death of chairman Enrico Mattei, the stocks of Eni, Italy's most prominent oil company, have fallen immensely. Due to Italy's role as a major player in world trade, the panics have spread in waves across global markets. The price of oil has shot up. Oil has played a crucial part in the global conflict between Germany, Japan, and America, being the most valuable resource in transportation and warfare. With the outbreak of conflict and the need for oil becoming immense, the powers of the world once more eye the region of festering conflict with great interest, looking to support whichever factions, nations, or leaders that will allow for economic footholds. It seems though a new battleground has been placed upon the world stage, which will forever change the face of your Middle Eastern geopolitics forever. The thinking good can come from this. The oil crisis. People do not want words, they want the sound of battle, a battle of destiny. Gamal Abdel Nasser. Black gold, red sand. Order 44! Strange news has come from Tokyo, at least as far as foreign correspondents were able to report on and see. Reports have also come in detailing the assassinations and suicides of multiple prominent Japanese political figures, including the very founder of the Taisai Yokan Sankai himself, Fumimaro Kono, and the Lord Keeper of the previous seal, Koichi Akira. Whether these are linked to the great conspiracy throughout Japan and China is yet to be seen. Of note, the Privy Council has appointed Kishi Nobusuke as the new Prime Minister of Japan. Kishi has come to power following the military coup attempt against the Diet, and has promised to restore stability and peace to the empire through any possible means. There are rumors, though, of the devil Showa seeking to implement the very system he has painstakingly built in Manchukuo. The devil Showa rises from hell. The way of the warriors to be found in dying. Yamamoto Tsuntomo. It is down to this. Yep, that's Japan's fail state. Look at that pie chart. Yeah, so Japan has hit fail state. Happens most games, so it's not that surprising. The oil crisis hits pretty much everywhere. Let me read it out, actually. With the recent crash of the ENI oil company, oil prices worldwide are undergoing a period of rapid fluctuation, and resultant strife throughout the world has threatened to crash the global market as a whole. Regardless of ideology, nationality, or loyalty, economic experts worldwide agree on only one thing. Our only hope for economic survival is to ride out the storm and pray for a miracle. This affects pretty much every country in the world, with a couple exceptions. Mainly, the Russian nations. They don't have to deal with it. Thankfully. Since such a thing would crumble their ability to fight. Or at least build stuff. So yeah. Session has to end here for now. So, what happened since last time? Took over Kazakhstan. I also attempted to build a nuclear weapon. Via crowdfunding. Crowdsourcing a nuke. Neutral. The bomb didn't explode, but at least nothing bad happened. The Iberian Wars happened, although it looks like the Spanish Republic will be the victor here. Thankfully. Yeah. Orenburg managed to defeat Omsk. Although that is partially to do with Omsk collapsing. Oh. Japan hit its fail state. The way of the warrior is in dying. So, all I have to do is the last little bits of the political tree, and then in 1971, I'll be able to unify through war. So, I'll see you again next time. Until then, bye.